In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the upcoming pattern. I do see a major storm in the medium range that looks to bring potentially our next severe weather outbreak, unfortunately. So we're going to be talking about that and the potential with that in just a little bit. Now, before we get into that, I would like to tell you a few things about my business, Trilogy Maps, and then we'll get right into it. Quickly, I want to tell you about my other business that I've launched, trilogymaps.com, where we have the highest definition, most customizable digital maps available on the internet, perfect for creating the best weather forecast. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret here. As of today, if you use the discount code DIRECT in checkout, you will get 33% off your entire order. That's a third of the price. You cannot beat it, so be sure to check it out today in the description and pinned comment down below. Now let's get going, and as you can see, by the time we're reaching just this afternoon and evening time, we do have this really slow moving upper level low that is bringing wintry weather to some areas. And if it's not bringing you wintry weather, it's probably bringing you windy and cold weather compared to what's historically typical for you this time of year. It's interesting how hot March and April were. Even, albeit January and February, if we're being honest. And now the beginning of May feels a lot more wintry than most of those months felt, or at least most of the time during those months felt. It's pretty interesting how the weather is, and that's why we love it so much, or at least why I love it so much, is the fact that it's not just following the norms. It is doing its own thing. Otherwise, it'd be quite boring, actually. Now, Wednesday the 3rd here, we could see that a lot of this precipitation dips down. It's kind of moving further south. It is weakening over time, but we do see some of this showers. It's going to be very dreary, very cool, and that is the look for Wednesday afternoon. All the while, we see that there is just warm air surging in the west, so it's the complete opposite out there. So we see this, and then we see a lot of this going on. So again, where was this all winter? I don't know. It wasn't here though. Now, by the time we're taking a look at Thursday, we see a big shift here happening. So things in the east are getting quieter, still cool, but quieter. And then things out west are building in activity. And in order to see most big severe weather events, this is the foundation, is most of that activity being out west and then moving across the nation. That's really what brings our worst severe weather events. As we keep going with this, we see that we get this low sort of developing. It's kind of gone away for the time being, but we do see some activity around there, and we would be looking for severe weather activity potentially later this week. This is Friday the 5th, for instance, so we could be seeing some of that activity then. But it's really this one that I'm watching closely. So we see this low kind of do a turnaround here. That's where the low is going to be, but we will see that cold front, warm front complex, and that is the real building blocks for a big severe weather event. So this starts out Saturday into Sunday overnight. We do see that a lot of this is taking place for Sunday afternoon, and we see a big cold front here, a bit of a warm front there, as things are really warming up now in the east by this point. And at the same time, we see some colder air able to trickle its way into the west. So we're seeing a pretty big pattern flip taking place here, actually, as we approach the weekend. So Friday through Monday, I would say, that is going to be, let's see, I guess that would be the 5th through the 8th. That is going to be the big transitionary period. And as we could see, by the time we're reaching, Monday, Tuesday, that initial low basically just surges way too high up into Canada and ends up not bringing any activity to this portion of the nation. It's mostly for the plains, that first one. But we get storm number 2, so I kind of lied in the beginning, I guess. I guess there's 2 storms. I usually very, very briefly take a look at these models before recording, and then I really deep dive into it with you guys, because I think having my initial reaction makes it much less scripted, and it's really just naturally me looking at the weather with you guys. And I hope that you guys enjoy that type of a format, because I think that's what makes our channel very, very unique here. Now, as we get going with this, we see that this low pretty quickly on Wednesday becomes much stronger than our initial one. This is a 993, and we can see a cold front developing, warm front again. So once again, this is the setup for not only severe weather, but also tornado outbreaks at times, because we see the warm surging air moving from south to north, and then we see this cold air moving from west to east, and it hits it from the side, causing a kind of horizontal barrel of rotation in the atmosphere. And that can be caused, basically, that can be forced down with downdrafts during very strong thunderstorms. And that is what most times causes tornado outbreaks. We do see this as a very intense system, 993 here, and it's over the Great Lakes. We do see a secondary low here, so we're going to do a little L. We're going to underline our primary low, though. And as you can see, we do have a big cold front still, and then along that warm front is where that secondary low is located. We would be watching primarily this area for severe weather. The area where that cold front is moving through would be the target area. We do see this at the end of the model run here, reaches the East Coast, so it's doing something like this, bringing thunderstorm activity perhaps to the Gulf Coast, even down as far south as Mexico, and then all the way up the East Coast into New England. Pretty similar in a different way to the locations that saw thunderstorms just a few days ago. Moving all the way up into the Mid-Atlantic and even New England. That is the time of year we're in. As we're moving into May and June, these areas further and further north are going to be more and more likely to see thunderstorm activity with the areas further south. And this is actually a pretty intense look, as you can see, if this does verify, because this is pretty long range, so take it with a grain of salt. But we do see intense cold air wrapping around this thing, damming cold air to the west there, still very strong warm air surging to the east. This is a very volatile look, in my opinion, and this would cause thunderstorms for the day on Thursday into Friday. That's going to be the 11th to the 12th for the East Coast here. Again, it's starting out kind of on Tuesday into Wednesday, 9th, 10th, and then the 10th through the 11th would be more of your Ohio Valley, perhaps a lot of the Gulf states, and then again the East Coast for the 11th into the 12th. Total precipitation here. No surprise, we do see plenty of activity here in the east with those back-to-back major storms rolling through. But not only that, we do see the pipeline of storms coming in from the west here. We see a return to this. So the primary storm track is something like this. That is going to be where we see back-to-back storms move through the northwest into the Rockies, over the plains, and then up north into the Great Lakes. And this is a classic storm track for big severe weather events. So we're going to be on the lookout for that, of course. Anywhere in the yellows is going to be about 1 inch to 2 inches, which is where you're at least at average precipitation for a 10-day period at 1 to 2 inches. Probably for a lot of areas that's above average, but certainly the reds where we're seeing 2 to 5 inches there, that is going to be above average for a 10-day period. And how you do the math is obviously there's 3 10-day periods in a month. So if you know what your average for May is, you can just use a third of that here to figure out if this is above or below or near average for you. I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit confusing. I wish I could just show you guys a 30-day outlook, but it wouldn't be entirely accurate. So anyway, total snowfall here, it's actually looking to increase over the mountainous west, so we're not going to be stopping anytime soon. The Rockies here seeing multiple feet, also the Cascades and Sierra Nevada seeing multiple feet, so we're going to need to talk about the heavy snowfall rolling through for days to come, it appears, as this activity looks to regain traction as a trough and ridge develops. Something like this that's going to implement more snowfall out west. We also see still some snowfall expected here for the Great Lakes. This should be slowing down very, very soon on the other hand. Now, as we take a look at the temperature anomalies, it's pretty clear we're in a ridge in the west, trough in the east pattern. Pretty classic stuff. We see unseasonably cold temperatures moving through, and that is what we've been calling for actually for a while now, and that has actually happened. Now we see warm out west, which we've also called for, is also happening. Now, as we continue this on, we see this last through midweek, even into approaching the weekend. But what we start to see happen, especially here by Friday, you can see it, is more cold air developing out west. It's a negative PNA, and this is going to encourage the warmth to basically just get away from the cold. It's going to push this way towards the weaker cold that is older, and it's basically going to win out. So as we approach Saturday here, we see more of that warmth. More established negative PNA, by the way, out here as well. And this warmth is really surging towards the northeast. And then Monday, Tuesday, look at what we end up seeing. Classic trough in the west, ridge in the central and eastern United States, especially here in the central. But also we're seeing warm surge here for the east, and that's going to be for early next week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here, all the way through the weekend, we're seeing warm trends here on this model. It's as we approach that week after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where it starts to want to show more warmth building back in for the west, so perhaps a positive PNA, and then some cold working its way back down the east coast again. We'll have to see if that ends up happening that way. This is in the longer range, but this model has been spot on. If you guys remember, just about maybe 5 days ago, maybe a week ago, we talked about how we do expect the warm to return to the east because this model was showing it in the very, very long range, and it has stuck with it all along. It has been an extremely accurate and a staple model here on the channel. We're going to continue to use it as long as it stays accurate like that. So we will take this with a grain of salt and continue to track it, but this model's track record tells us that this is a good possibility for sure. Anyway, guys, be sure to check out the trilogy maps in the description and pinned comment down below like I mentioned earlier. Also, be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.